This is Adam Gorney on the Rival Signing Day show here with former Colorado quarterback Kordell Stewart, former NFL quarterback. A whole lot of things here, and we want to talk about a lot because it's a busy time for Colorado. But first, we want to talk about the miracle at Michigan. That is what it's all about. And I watched it last night again just to refresh. And I know it's clear in your mind, but Keith Jackson was on the call. I think you threw it from the 26 and it got to the 1. Did you think you got it in the end zone? Just kind of remind us all about that throw.
Well, to follow up on what you're saying, the trajectory of the ball was actually going. It was actually going into the end zone if it continues to go right. So
Right.
it's one of those things where you practice it in practice. You talk about it with your coach. You want the perfect situation and scenario. And how we ran it in practice, it was kind of like a walkthrough. The guys would be at the the plus 20 yard line. I would be at maybe the 40. And the guys would walk. Rick Neuheisel would walk the guys to their positions, preferable positions. And it would be me just throwing it up in the air, literally trying it, throwing it up in the air, seeing how far I could throw it in the altitude in Colorado. And it'd be a discussion. Exactly, literally, the way you saw it. Now, the person that you probably would say would have a chance to get it through all the minutia that you have with the 3 receivers on one side and the one coming from afar is that one, the one coming from afar. It's the battle of these three, our 3 guys and their defensive backs to this one dude that no one really sees coming, right? End up being able to get tipped and go off, into the tunnel and act like we've done something real. Well, it actually happened that way, just flipped it over. Michael Westbrook being on the outside of the 3 receivers. Blake Anderson ended up tipping, be a part of the tip, being a distraction, so to speak, because that's his responsibility, the front man. And then Mike came around with the Hall of Famer, Ty Law, on his hip. And, Mike had a great game that day and ended up making arguably one of the greater catches in college football history, truthfully.
So that the intention was to tip it. It wasn't just kind of a scrum and then the ball kind of flew to Westbrook. The intention was to kind of tip it back.
No, it's a Hail Mary pass. So all Hail
Yeah.
Mary pass, just to let those who don't understand the Hail Mary pass, it's not always about just the person catching because there's so many hands that are flying in the air to knock it down. So it ends up, that's why it's called the Hail Mary pass, because it's a prayer, right? It's a throw in a prayer. Not a wish in a prayer, but a throw in a prayer. And it ended up happening the way you talk about it. You tip it up. That's why it's guys swatting it down, right? Because they know the other guy's trying to tip it up. They say, let me get my best jumper to go up and get it out of the air and pull it down. And that's what happened. So we call it tip left because the ball was on the right hash. We threw it to the left. If the ball was on the left hash, we would call it tip right. So all intended purposes, most catches may fall into the lap of a player. It's very seldom you actually see the tip, and it actually happens perfectly. It literally happened exactly, I promise, to a science of how we want it and wish it could happen, not knowing who would tip it, not knowing who would catch it, but the content. The way content is on social media today, like, podcasts and all that good stuff, we make $100 billion off of that, man, because the content was perfect. It's what you draw up in the classroom, on the board. So it was perfect. It was perfect.
I know you're going to say yes, and throwing it in Boulder with that thin air, 76 yards, it could be done. Ann Arbor was a little different. Did you feel like you could get it there? Was there confidence that this could possibly happen?
Most definitely. Yeah. Like seriously, like I know many may say, "Oh, no way," or we don't see that happening often. Well, that's what we did. That's what I had. Was an arm that was strong and was capable of truly throwing the ball on any portion or part of the field. And literally after making that throw, not so much in practice or at home playing baseball and stuff like that when I was young, but to do it when it mattered brought so much more confidence in my arm strength because you did it in a moment in time where it ended up being the result of a win, right? And you're the first that actually calling out the number exactly where the number is supposed to. It was thrown from the ball was released from my hand from the minus 26.
Yeah.
You gave me 2 more yards, and I love you for it. It was from the minus 26 yard line. So that technically was a 74 yard pass. in the air. I don't want the official line of scrimmage conversation,
Right.
because it took about an extra 10 more yards and a little bit more firepower, or even nitro, to get that thing to jump the way it did. But they talk about the Doug Flutie pass, and okay, all right, that's Boston, that's ESPN.
Yeah.
They're gonna jump that thing really good, and a few others like the LSU to the Cal Stanford. But if you turn the volume down and you're speaking of a Hail Mary pass, and you see the clock and you watch the play, pandemonium. It was crazy at its finest moments, in a place where Bill McCartney coached, a place where Michael Westbrook was recruited, because I think he was from Flint, Michigan, I want to say. And to then go into their house, Lynn Swann, the great Lynn Swann, Steelers Hall of Fame receiver, was actually covering the game with ABC on the sideline. So I'm like, this feels pretty darn good. And the stadium was so big compared to our stadium in Colorado. You're talking about it seating 100,000+ people. And to be in that sea of blue and gold, as they say, go blue, blue and gold. If I'm wrong, I'm sorry. But to have that happen in that moment, and all the things that were transpiring, us with great numbers, but not being able to get it done earlier than that, to come to that play, it would be arguably, with so many great moments in Colorado football history, whether it's the national championship teams and the things that they were able to accomplish from 89 to 90, going back to 88, a Liberty Bowl, to even taking it over to the 2 Orange Bowls against Notre Dame. But you're talking about this one play consistently. That is remarkable within itself, and humbling to know that we still are remembering that play, and what it does mean to my institution, let alone my teammates that was a part of that play.
Yeah, let's talk about that and where they are today. I mean, you never had a losing season there. Bill McCartney was, a Hall of Famer. What do you make of the Deion hire? How excited are you for you to see what he does there? And better than anybody, what does it take to be successful at Colorado?
Well, you have to get those. See, Colorado is a very special place, right? I don't know if you've ever been to Boulder or to the state of Colorado on vacation. It's second to none. And, it's considered one of for college students, the number one party city in the country, right? And for the right reasons. You can tell why when you took your visits, and how much fun and how comfortable it felt to be in an environment that was so peaceful, if you will. I'm from New Orleans, and my city is peaceful as well, but it's different. All right. You have creeks with water is about as clear as the water in water bottles that you buy from the store, to the mountains. They still are sitting in the same place that they were sitting when I went there back in 1991. The air is just as crisp as it gets. The lifestyle is a first-class lifestyle. And to be able to be a part of that, it's unbelievable. Now you add Deion, and then Coach Mack being a godly man and promise keepers, and all the stuff that his life was surrounded around, kind of instilled in us, and made us feel comfortable as young men being in a community such as that one, coming from New Orleans, or coming from parts of Miami, parts of Texas, and Compton and Watts in California. You're asking these young men that come from different environments and backgrounds to adjust to this type of a community. So to have the Mad Dogs, Jeff Madden, who was our strength coach, to the Coach Lucases, to the Tim Lewises, all these different coaches that look like us, that allowed us to feel really, really comfortable in that community, which it wasn't about that, but it makes you feel comfortable knowing where you came from, and who could I talk to can relate. And they just won a national championship. You had Darren Higgin as the starting quarterback, with Charles Johnson backing him up. You had Mike Pritchard, and all these different, O.C. Oliver that was a part of that run. You had all these players, George Hemingway, fullback, 6'3", 200 and every bit of 45, 50 pounds in college, to be able to be a part of that and know the success that we've had then, to know Deion and the success that he's had, whether it's with the youth, whether it's with the high school, the school that he had, to Trinity High, where they've gone to state championships pretty much every year, and I think maybe won 3 out of 4. to then taking that success over to Jackson State and see a community that was struggling when it came down to wins and success. And the only success that you can think of, truthfully, if you're thinking about Jackson State, is dealing with someone like a Walter Payton, right? And so when you have all these different, angles of what you're having a chance to be a part of there in Jackson State, now you take that energy and now you put it into a place like Colorado. Come on, dude. I just gave you a full story to let you feel it. I could just answer it and get straight to the point, but I wanted you to feel it because that's what Deion is experiencing with himself. You saw how elated he was when at his presser and talking. I know him personally. We spent a lot of time together. We traveled together, vacationed together in Puerto Rico, to Florida at boat shows, to spending time with Shiloh and Shador when they were little toddlers, when they were when we were at Baltimore together, and a lot of calls and cracking jokes and having fun, and to see a man of his liking in the sense of what he believes in and what he's about and raising these young men. The stories I gave you about where we came from and how things were adjusted for the portal and regents, and not just for the student athletes, but the students as well, it's going to bring revenue in. It's going to bring in that type of athlete that based on the criterias, if you will, to get in has been kind of softened a little bit, if you will, so that the relevance of football can be as profound as it used to be. And the excitement that we have now is similar to what we had back then, but social media, and podcasts and being able to talk about it all day, every day, as I'm sure you've seen Deion and I, we did a podcast together. We did Instagram live together, and, talking about he asking me to come back to work with Shador and be a part of the program in some capacity. I'll let him tell that story, but I don't know yet. But just to be a part of it and get that phone call and him giving me my flowers now, it's different, man. It's different, bro. And I can't put it in words any better because it's a surreal moment for me as a Buff, but most importantly, my friend being able to have that job and bring relevance back to my institution.
Kordell, real quick on the podcast, talk about On the Edge with Slash and the Believe Me podcast, what you talk about and where it's going.
Yeah, man, it's a beautiful thing. I have a platform to be able to talk about sports. It's on the Believe Network. It's BLEAV, as you see on the screen here. The On the Edge with Slash is my own podcast where we talk about everything sports. Whether it's college, whether it's the NFL, and even talking LPGA and PGA golf and basketball, whatever we choose to go with. And the Believe Me Network, as you can see on the screen, is one that's about betting, right? So you have the professional gambler, you have the host of the show, and you have myself, the former player, that talks to the host of the show and say, believe me, and why I'm right. So like the Jacksonville game against the Dallas Cowboys, I said, believe me, that Doug Peterson has ignited some energy into this team with being able to get 2-point conversion in closing moments of game that creates confidence. To then all of a sudden, I said they were going to beat the Dallas Cowboys. And everybody's like, well, I'm going to let you have that one. And I'm like, believe me, it's going to happen. And lo and behold, what happened this past weekend? Jacksonville ended up beating the Dallas Cowboys. And so now they play the Jets, and I said they're going to win this one too. And believe me, they're going to win that one too. So you can come on in and listen to us, listen to me, and get some real good insight on what we think about the game, most importantly, but yet having a chance to talk about the betting side of it and how you can have a chance to win some big bucks. Don't blame us for your decision, but we can at least steer you in the right direction, and that's what we do.
Hey, if you predicted that pick six, then you got all my money, and I don't have any. So
you don't need that one. I'm not that good, but I'm good enough to say they were going to win. I'll take that part, but I'm not that good.
Awesome. Kordell Stewart here with Adam Gorney on the Rival Signing Day Show. This is Adam Gorney on the Rival Signing Day Show here with new Nebraska coach Matt Rhule, and that feels good. It feels good to have you on the show. It feels good to have Nebraska represented here, and you've been around. You know how it goes. Have you ever been around a place though in the last few weeks with such passion? Some would say lunacy. The expectation there. How invigorating is it to see and be a part of this program now as the leader?
Well, it's an absolute honor. I think when you get here, you get into the state. You walk into this building, you walk by 5 national championship trophies, you walk by 3 Heismans, and you have an immediate sense of what's possible here. And you feel honored to represent the state. The people are passionate. The fan base loves the players, loves the team. And I think all the guys that chose to sign with us, I think they definitely feel that.
You've been a part of rebuilds. At Baylor, it was nearly an impossible rebuild, and you got it done quickly. Is there a science to that? Is it just really about culture and bringing in the right players? And how do you kind of move that forward here at Nebraska now?
Yeah, I think it's about getting the right people on board. I think it starts with the staff. And then in recruiting, it's about recruiting the right guys the right way. I think that's important. You can recruit the right guys, but bring them in with a bunch of promises and they get there and there's no trust. And so to me, it's about, doing it the right way. And then when they get here, developing them like crazy. We were able to do that at Baylor. I think the difference for me now is, we're not bound to just 25 guys or 19 guys. We can bring in a lot more guys, and I think that speeds things up for people.
Yeah, that's interesting. And let's talk portal, and Elijah Judy is now in. Is that something that your philosophy on it, is that going to be sort of crafted as you go, or is this sort of something that you can rebuild much quicker than bringing in guys and developing them only from the high school ranks?
Yeah, I think my approach has always been, I'm a developmental coach. I like to get guys in here, have them for 3, 4, 5 years. So that, I obviously look forward to recruiting high school kids and getting them here. But I think with the portal now, having the ability to bring in guys, after their redshirt freshman year, if they're the right guy, having them for 3 years. And I think my experience in the NFL, you have to, you sign a free agent, you have to get him ready to play quickly. And sometimes we signed a guy on Tuesday and I had to have him ready by Sunday. And so I think we're uniquely qualified now to have that long-term developmental approach, but also bring guys in that can help us. It speeds the game up. And for me, I want the freshmen to come in and compete, but I don't have to play a guy who's not ready because I have the ability to bring in some veteran players.
Speaking of you said talent on the roster, you got a big one this morning, Malachi Coleman. Colorado was very involved with him until the end. What were those conversations like with you and Malachi and the family to convince him, hey, let's stay in Lincoln and let's build this together?
It started off with really a hard conversation, when he decommitted, and speaks a lot to who he is and who his family is. And he called me. That's not always the case. And I was great with it. As I told him, I only wanted him to come here if this was the right place for him. And we talked a lot about our vision for him. We talked a lot about what we were going to try to do. But I think the biggest thing was he just wanted to get around us and spend some time with us. It's hard to commit the next 4 years of your life to someone you don't really know. And I think in a short amount of time, we've been able to let them feel our vibe here, the people that we have here. And in the end, Malachi trusted us, and it's a big day for us to keep him here in Lincoln.
Some coaches subscribe to the idea that you put your best athletes on defense. He could play receiver, tight end, defensive end, linebacker. Where do you kind of see him playing? Do you just bring him in and figure it out, or do you kind of have an idea?
Well, I think he's a wideout. My approach has always been, Adam, and we've had a lot of success from, Hassan Reddick to Deion Dawkins, a lot of guys at Temple and at Baylor of moving guys around and putting them in the right position. And my philosophy has always been to let these guys start off at the position they're most comfortable. Let them play that. Let them have success. And then as we go, I think we have a pretty good eye here, our staff, Evan Cooper, myself, looking at guys and saying, hey, your best chance to make a lot of money in the NFL is to move to this. But when I see Malachi, he's got 10-3 speed, he's got length. We're gonna teach him to be a great wideout. And then a lot of people say they're gonna let kids play both ways in the recruiting process. You go back and look at us, we've done it. And those aren't promises, but what it is I think he's a dynamic athlete. And if he can help us in other areas, we certainly will.
There have been different philosophies at Nebraska over the years, depending on the coaching staff, some successful, some not successful, about recruiting territory. And we all know that Nebraska is going to have some guys, but not enough to make a whole class, not enough probably to win Big Ten championships. But how do you see this? Is this getting into Texas more? Is this going west, east, southeast, Midwest? How do you kind of see this playing out over the years?
Well, I think it's truly being great in the state, like you said. I think we signed the most Nebraska players this year since 1998. And there's a couple that we would have loved. We just got here too late to get involved. And so I think there's the fundamental core is here. Those are the guys that'll want to stay and be here no matter what because they love the university. And I think from there, we really want to be great in Texas. It's one of the reasons why I took the job, looking back at the history, knowing Nebraska's ties there. It's for kids that want to play in the Big Ten. I think the Big Ten is really moving in a strong direction. And, Nebraska, we're the closest one. And then, they have a great history in New Jersey in the East Coast. They have a great history in Florida. So we will try to concentrate in those three areas, the Northeast, Florida, Texas. But we also understand we're a national brand, and we'll go find kids anywhere that they are. Especially what I'm learning is there's a lot of people with Nebraska ties that have moved somewhere else, and we're going to go get those guys as well.
Speaking of Texas, I think you had a great recruiting move to eat at Prince Will's mom's restaurant. I think that was definitely a nice touch there. Calculated, or were you hungry at that time?
No, that's my second time. So when I went in to see Princely, and Princely was coming on a visit to Baylor, and then I left. I went there and I had the fufu, I had the uguzi soup, and I've had that in many homes. It's become a favorite of mine. So when I went back in there, I don't think they even realized it was me at first. But I said, no, I sat at that table. And then when Mom said, you went with Coach Rhule, I said, no, I am Coach Rhule. And she said, oh my goodness. I think maybe I put on too many pounds since the last time I was there. So, but no, it's a great restaurant, and it's got great food, and they're an unbelievable family. And I've really enjoyed getting to know them because, for me now, this has been 4 years of knowing them.
Yeah. Putting on the pounds, you and me both, Matt. That is new Nebraska coach Matt Rhule. Thanks for joining us today, man.
Thank you so much. Go
right.
Big Red.
All right, this is Adam Gorney at the Rival Signing Day show here with Clemson coach Dabo Swinney. Fresh off of his press conference, thank you for joining us again. You make it easy every year, and honestly, we try to get these coaches, and so you could get the president on the line easier than some of these guys, and you have a national championship too, I remember. So just the class in general, do you like the numbers? Do you like where it is? Are you done? Are you still going? How does it kind of go from here, Dabo?
I love this class. I mean, it's built in the trenches. Probably the most D linemen we've signed since Christian Wilkins' class in 15. 3 big-time D tackles and D ends, and then 3 great offensive linemen that we're super excited about as well. We've got another great quarterback, we believe, and then we've got excellent skill, at safety, at corner, at receiver. Big skill at tight end and linebacker. So just a really complete group. It's probably our biggest class in quite a while, and brought a nice little preferred walk-on guy in as well. A bunch of them are mid-year. So we got 16 guys coming in January to go on top of an already very talented roster that's returning. We're not losing a lot of guys. So we got a lot of guys back and coming off of a championship team. And so it should be fun this spring to get all these guys in the mix and competition, and then we got more guys coming in the summer. So right now we're in a good spot. We'll see. We got some guys that are coming back to Clemson that a lot of people don't know about yet that we thought were leaving. So today was a great day, but those are probably the biggest signees we could have with those guys that are going to stay here.
Yeah, we can get to the trenches. Let's start with the quarterback, Chris Vezina. Seems just very comfortable at Clemson, like the spot for him for a long time. What do you see from him as a player and as a person that will fit with you in the offense?
Well, CV is, first of all, he's big. He's a big, strong kid. He can make all the throws. He's a really good athlete. He can run. He was a really good little basketball player as well. I mean, I think he's a great leader. I think he's a natural leader. He's a great teammate. He's a guy that probably could have, gone and played at some other schools. He's at a great school. But, man, he just stayed right where he was and bloomed where he was planted at Briarwood and had a great career. But he's an incredibly smart and passionate guy. He's a grinder. I love that about his mentality. He's low maintenance and just loves the game, loves to prepare for the game. He's a great fit for our room to go along with Cade. And then we brought in Paul Tyson to come, and you probably remember him when he was coming out of high school. Yeah. But, we needed a veteran guy, losing Billy Wiles, who went to Southern Miss, and then obviously DJ. We needed somebody in the room that really brings some veteran experience, and he'll be great for us. He's going to be a great teammate, a great mentor to CV and Cade in helping them, mature and grow. So excited about both of those guys.
Like you said, that 2015 D-line class was phenomenal with Christian Wilkins, Cleveland Farrell, I think, was in that class. And then, the other class was Miles Murphy and Brzee, but they didn't have the numbers. This group is loaded. And the guy that we've really fallen in love with, especially after Alabama-Mississippi game, was Peter Woods. I mean, he was just such a game wrecker, just a dominant force. Going into Alabama to get him, how did that all work out, and how happy are you to have him?
Well, I mean, everybody's got their opinion and this and that, but as far as just I pure football player, people can argue about end, tackle, whatever. I think he's the best pure football player in the country. Just pure football player. I mean, this guy can do so many things, and then physically and mentally where he is, I mean, it's almost like he's coming out of a college already, coming out of Thompson High School. I mean, Mark Freeman does an unbelievable job down there. That's my rival school. That's the only thing that pains me is I'm a mighty Pelham Panther. And, man, I grew up, man, you didn't like Thompson, and they didn't like Pelham. So it just goes to show you how God's got a great sense of humor. All these years later, man, this Pelham Panther and Thompson Warrior have come together. And, man, we're going to do some great things with that young man. He's special. I mean, he's explosive. He's just a guy that it's hard to block, and he's got a motor you can't coach. He's got this motor. He's just relentless, and he will be one of the strongest guys the day he gets to college. Yeah. I mean, he's just, and he's played at a 7A level in the state of Alabama, which is as good a football as there is. And so, and an unbelievable kid, and just the sweetest family. I mean, just a beautiful family. His mom Jermaine, or his mom Devin, and his dad Jermaine. I mean, they're just great people. And he always liked Clemson. And then with the recruiting process and them coming up, I think he knew early on. Like, he was one of our first commits, and he's been rock solid all the way. He's been one of the leaders in this class already. So if he had announced he was coming to Clemson today, there would have been an earthquake. It's just great that's the type of leader he is. He wanted to be a leader in this class. He wanted to help put it together. And man, he helped set the tone for this group. All these guys. I mean, we have 26 guys, man. They've been committed for a long time. And, it's good to get them signed up today.
The other D lineman that I want to talk about that didn't get as much national recognition as Peter was Vic Burley from Warner Robins. Continues to grow, is just massive. How do you kind of see him, and what did you like to target him early on?
Same thing. We've been following that big joker for a while, and he is a monster. He's huge. People don't realize how big and explosive he is. Great family, a kid that just fit our program, and we started recruiting him probably 10th grade. Same thing, coming out of a great program, a really tradition-rich program down there at Warner Robins, a family that really values education, and I think they were really looking for a place that values it as well. His mom's an assistant principal, his dad's an educator, and he just fit Clemson, and he came up here several times, and again, another one of those guys that could have gone anywhere in the country, literally, but chose to come be a part of this program, and already he's here going through practice now, going to the bowl with us. Big personality, hilarious, but he is one of the biggest guys we've signed at that position. I mean, he's got great potential moving forward.
That's it. That is Clemson coach Dabo Swinney. Dabo, thank you so much for joining us today.
All right, man. Good to be with you.
All right. See you next time.
Take care.
This is Adam Gorney on the Rival Signing Day Show, continuing along here with Florida State head coach Mike Norvell. And Mike, another signing day in the books. Great news with one of the best receivers in the class, Hakeem Williams. And the story here is incredible. You guys got involved, and you're one of many schools involved with him. And then he takes his own trip to New Orleans to see you guys play LSU. Luckily, you called a great game and won that game, and it went really well. what kind of player can he be for you? How talented is he? And he's just a rare physical specimen too.
Yeah. I mean, he's special. I mean, he's a special player, special talent, but more than all that, I mean, he's a special young man. And, really, I think, Ron Dugans has done a remarkable job in developing a relationship, we all have. And that's what really, Hakeem was, had every option, and he could have went anywhere he wanted. But I think he really found something special here at Florida State with an opportunity, and just a chance to come here and to be able to succeed in all ways. And he absolutely great fit for our culture and our football team. But the sky's the limit to what he'll be able to do, and really got a special one there.
When did you get the sense that you were not only really in this, but really about to land him and then keep him? And this as well as anybody, the recruiting really starts once the kid commits almost sometimes,
No, absolutely. And, he'd come to a couple of our workouts, and when he came to the practice, I loved watching his interaction. And I mean, he's one of those guys that'll be standing on the sideline, but as each play and each rep, and, we coach our guys and get after them pretty good just in how hard we push. And, he was, had the biggest smile on his face. I mean, he loved the way that we worked. And, that's really, I saw that, just kind of take off. And as he saw this offense and the program continue to grow and showcase all that we can do, I mean, it was a perfect fit. So, it was a heck of a journey that we were on, and just so grateful I get to coach him.
You always want playmakers. You got to keep loading up on them. Did it seem like this class, though, in particular, you wanted guys, whether at receiver or running back, you got a quarterback late, went to the portal for some tight ends? Was it sort of an objective to get more playmakers, more pass catchers in this offense?
Well, I mean, I think guys that have that game-changing ability, and we use a variety of personnel groupings. We try to get our guys in the best one-on-ones. So finding guys that when you get the ball in their hands, that they know what to do with it. And you mentioned quarterback. Brock Glenn was a big get for us, and he was a guy that was a top target. We had committed to another school. I think Coach Tokarz did a really nice job of building the relationships, even through and out of respect, even with the commitment somewhere else. And, he was just, as he saw us continue to grow and put on display, all we were capable of, I think he knew that this was the best place for him. And definitely excited about his future and all those playmakers that we were able to bring into the program.
The guy who I think is the sleeper is Vandrevius Jacobs. He's, a little undersized, but that's almost like to his benefit, like he's just so fast. He's going to catch a lot of passes. He wasn't talked about as much as some other receivers in this class, but what do you like about him and how you can get him the ball?
I mean, everything. He is a true, he's a definition of playmaker. Had over 20 touchdowns this year. He was an early commitment, and, Dre was not one that was out trying to seek all the attention and do all the different things at camps. And I mean, he just played ball, and he was one of the best players in the state of Florida, one of the best players in the country, was a top target for us. And, he held true throughout the entire process, but we got a special player in him.
As Brock Glenn was going through the process, and we don't have to mention schools or whatever, but when you went up to Memphis, it seemed like there was like a symbiotic relationship there. Like you guys hit it off. Like he wanted to come, you wanted him. How did that kind of all progress as he was going through the last few weeks here?
Well, I mean, it's just when you see a young man, you build a relationship. I've known of Brock for a long time, and we've started building the relationship in the recruiting, in the recruiting process. But he was, just him, his mom, his family. I mean, brothers and sisters are remarkable. And just, when every time that they would come down to campus or I'd get a chance to visit with them, I mean, I felt something special. And then you watch him play the game. I mean, he's just a great talent. I've known his high school coaches, for a long time. Got a lot of respect for what they do and how they've done it there at Lausanne. And it all came to be the way that I believe it was supposed to. And so glad that he's going to be a Seminole.
You're going to have a lot of in-state recruiting battles there. I don't think it's any secret. Edwin Joseph was definitely one of those. You won it. Where do you see him? We list him as an athlete. He can kind of play everywhere. Where do you kind of see him? What do you want to do with him?
No, he is an athlete, but we're going to play him at corner, and that's where we see an elite level potential there. And his ball skills. You watch him play receiver, and he could definitely be a take at receiver too. I mean, he is a great talent, but we see him as a game changer in the defensive backfield. Change of direction, athleticism, ball skills, all those things that you want. Playing there, in South Florida and Chaminade Madonna. I mean, it's one of the best teams in the country, and you see the competition that he would go against, and I mean, just was elite at the corner position. So excited about what he brings, and that was a big get for us today.
Portal is basically recruiting 2.0, and we could all complain about it or accept it or whatever it is. How do you kind of look at it? How do you want to use it? You have utilized it in this class. Is it piecing things together, or is it sometimes revamping what you're kind of trying to do?
Well, I mean, you're still looking for the best fit, and that's one thing that we talk about, all the time, whether it's high school or portal or junior college, is finding the right fit for building this team. And we want the most talented, biggest, strongest, fastest players we can get, but they got to be the right fit for us. And so we've done a really good job being able to get two of the best tight ends in the country, in the portal, through the portal this year, with both versatile skill sets that can be, great weapons for us. Looking at the offensive lineman we've been able to bring in, got three guys that have a lot of experience and ability, that all have a specific vision, coupled with, a couple of high school linemen that I think are going to be great. I mean, Lucas Simmons, was one of the top targets that we had, within our entire team for this recruiting class, and to be able to get him, and then, today with Andre Otto, and, I think has a guy with all the potential in the world, that's it's just put together a really, really, good class for us.
Recruiting is hard enough when you have to know the shorter university tight end, though. That takes it to another level, doesn't it?
It's definitely, probably watched a lot more shorter film than I ever have, but I did play in the Gulf South, so I had a little familiarity.
Right. Again, that is Florida State head coach Mike Norvell. Mike, thanks for joining us again.
Thanks so much. Go Noles.
This is Adam Gorney on the Rival Signing Day show with new Georgia Tech coach Brent Key. And Brent, it's been busy and taking over the job. What's it been like these first few months in an interim role and now getting the head job?
I mean, it's, you can say whirlwind, but I don't think that really does it justification, because it's taking over on week 5 of the season, and then having to play the games and prepare for the games, but yet continuing to recruit and maintain the relationships. It was extremely important to us on the staff to do that. And I don't think we sit here today with the ability to even get some of those guys to join our program if we didn't do that through the end of the season, through the last the final 10 weeks of the season. So it was a grind. It was something that had to be done. It's something that and then that'll continue moving forward. But it's there's a few days coming up here where I'm probably gonna have a little eggnog and lay down on the couch and wake up whenever I do. So
yeah. You take over, and credit to you and the team. You go to Pitt, and that could have turned ugly, but you guys won that game. Then against a good Duke team, you win, and that's an impressive start. Let's talk recruiting. There's high school guys, there's portal guys. There's a whole lot to think about here. And what's your philosophy on the portal? How to use it? You've definitely used it to your advantage so far. Yeah,
I'm a firm believer in developing your roster, really through the high schools, the local high schools within your state, recruiting your backyard, making sure that that's a priority. Then reaching out to the neighboring states and the kind of the footprint that we feel is important to us in places we've had success in the past. The transfer portal is something that's here. It's not going away. People can spend all the time they want talking about it or what they think it should be or not be or this and that. But to me, that's all they're doing is wasting time trying to figure out the ways to use it to their advantage. So our philosophy is we're going to recruit the high schools here in the state of Georgia. We're going to recruit the neighboring states. We're going to develop our program and our locker room really from the inside out when it comes to those things. And then you look at the transfer portal, and there's really two sorts of guys that are in there. There's the 1-year guys, and then there's the guys with multiple years of playing left. So, taking a guy with multiple years to me is really, you're adding to your locker room because they still have a chance to develop within the culture of your team in the locker room and around the other players. There's a certain amount of shared adversity that the kids here at Georgia Tech go through, whether it be at practice, going to the same classes, all the things that college kids bond over. So now the other hand of that is the kind of the 1 year guys that come in. So now in my opinion, there's a athletic ability and ability to help you standpoint that we look at and that we judge and evaluate these guys on. But then there's also the character portion where is this guy going to be able to come into the locker room and fit in right away, really from the team accepting him and then him accepting the team. So, regardless of what success you might have on the field, there's that bond that has to take place with your teammates. So really the evaluation, you have the high school evaluation, you have the transfer evaluation, but then that transfer evaluation we look at as two separate things.
Yeah. You went to the portal for a quarterback, a big one, highly touted, very heavily recruited out of high school. It didn't work at Texas A&M. Haynes King. What do you see from him? What can he bring to your team, maybe immediately on the field with the ability that he has?
Yeah, fortunately, our quarterback coach Chris Winkie had a prior relationship, having recruited him in another place, and when the opportunity came around, that's the type of relationships that Chris makes with kids and their families. We were able to get back involved this time around with him. So, as far as what he brings, he's a big, strong kid. He's got he's a dynamic athlete with the ball in his hands. And I think that's important. It's important for us. It's important in college football across the board, but really for us and where we're at in our program right now, we want to have guys that can make plays, obviously with their arm at that position, but also be able to pull the ball down, and whether it's a designed run at times, here and there, or ability to make something happen when protection breaks down in front of them and get positive plays. That's important for us. So, and then we want to continually build the quarterback room where those guys all complement each other, where they have different qualities, but a lot of them aligned in the same way. So and then when you got a guy that tall and can see over the line and be able to see what's in front of him, and then you bring him and you put him with what in my opinion is the best quarterback coach in the entire country, in Chris. And it's he's worked with everyone from the junior high kids in his career all the way up to all pro guys and Hall of Famers, and trained them and developed them. So, and then his resume of success of what we did last season with the way the quarterback situation played out with injuries, and then having to platoon two guys towards the end of the season and being able to go up to North Carolina and pull that win off, with two different quarterbacks who really not played a whole lot of football that season, last season. Tremendous respect for Chris as a teacher and a coach. So you put the combination of those things together, we feel like we have something really special.
Always important to load up on the offensive line. Was that a bias of yours as an offensive line coach to get so many, or was that something that was absolutely needed?
Yeah, it's needed. And like I said earlier, that is the most developmental position of all positions. And there's a pattern of success here at Georgia Tech over the last, even the last 25, 30 years. And that's the position we felt like we could bring guys in that would develop within the program. Fortunately, I was able to work with all of those guys during summer camps, see them practice, see them play live before the transition even occurred. So I know what we're getting with those guys. I know who they are. I know their strengths, their weaknesses, things they need to develop with, and being able to hold on to those guys through the whole transition and then all the way to signing day, I thought was a good win, a really good win for us.
I'm going to call it now. I think the sleeper of the class is Evan Dickens, a late ad, a running back, very talented kid. You don't lead IMG in rushing touchdowns unless you're pretty good. How did that all kind of come together and getting him in here? Yeah,
so he's a local kid, an Atlanta kid. Had gone to high school here, transfers to IMG. Fortunate, again, I'm not making this the Chris Winkie show, but he's got some pretty close relationships down there, being that he started the place. So the football program there. So we got his film. We watched watched a little bit of some highlights and dug in a little bit deeper, watched some more film. some of the coaches there have relationships to us up here that we really trust to tell us some things that you might not see on film. He can run the ball inside, outside. He can press the outside zone, the stretch play, one cut, get north and south. You look at him, his running back style, and you evaluate that. But the thing that everyone was extremely high on him down there with was the way his understanding of pass protections, his communication of the pass protections, to everyone on the offense, and his ability to stick his face in there and pick up blitzers and know where his protection pickups were. That's something you rarely see at the high school level, or those guys that have a pretty broad understanding of protection. So it was a credit to the intelligence of Evan, and we felt like he'd be able to be a guy that came in here and gave us it'd be a good asset for us in the running back room.
That is new Georgia Tech coach Brent Key. Brent, thanks for joining us so much today.
Appreciate it, guys.
This is Adam Gorney with the Rival Signing Day show, back with Louisville head coach Jeff Brohm, and that feels right. It feels good to say that back home. What's it been like, just the reception you've gotten and your own personal feeling about being the Louisville coach now?
Well, I'm really excited to coach this football team and get back to my hometown and my university that I went to, and just a lot of people that really care about the program that I know and that I've been a part of my life, that I want to make sure I do my part to help this football team win and get better. And so that's been really good to see some of those faces. Obviously, it's been kind of a busy 2 weeks or a week and a half, however that's been. But I'm sure once this kind of dies down a little bit, we'll get a chance to spend a little more time with them. But it's been a lot of fun to this point.
One of your first acts was to actually get on a plane and fly to California to go to Bosco to see that game. How important was that to lock up your quarterback, to make clear that the plan is in place here?
Well, I think that Pierce Clarkson and that crew on that football team are really good football players. They've been a big part of this recruiting piece even before I got here. You could tell they really love this university and want to help this school win football games and do it at the highest level. So we want to get out there and see the whole crew, watch them compete, watch them play, get around their families. It's a lot of fun. We had a really good time. We spent 2 days out there and really got to see as many people as we possibly could, and really enjoyed it. And, these guys are excited. I think they've helped this recruiting class get better by the work they've put in. So we're thankful for that. But we're excited to get them here. A lot of these guys are going to get here early in January and be a big part of spring practice.
Yeah, Jeff, I think it's a compliment to you and the recruiting job of others that so many guys were trying to get your guys to flip. And, a lot of guys are wanted by other schools, and that didn't necessarily happen with a lot of the top guys. Madden Sanker is a guy that I talked to. I have to ask the question, and he said he was there and he loved it and he's locked in. And how important was this last weekend to just get guys on campus, get them around your guys, around yourself, and just kind of really just bond a little bit?
Well, that was the priority, is to making sure that we got in front of these young men and their families. They got a chance to just meet us and talk to us and see what we're about and what is our vision and how can we help them achieve their goals. And there's one thing about me and recruiting and our staff: we're going to be genuine and honest. And if it works, great. If it doesn't, then there's a better place, and that's where we want them to go. So I think we relay that to them. We got a chance to be around a lot of these guys, just like you mentioned, Madden Sanker, Luke Burgess, two really good offensive linemen that we love. They just love football. They love to compete. They'll be a great addition to this program, but a lot of really good football players. We got a chance to, this past weekend had almost 27 prospects and their families on campus with a short staff since a lot of our guys have stayed back. And so there's a lot of work to do. Our players were gone at the bowl game, and it was busy, but we enjoyed it. And we were happy to get around all of them as much as we could. And we're looking forward to kind of continuing that relationship as they get here.
Talk to me a little bit about that philosophy of saying, we want you here clearly, but if you think something else is better, then go pursue it. Because one, you don't want them to second guess. And two, you want guys that want to be there, right? I mean, is that the idea?
Well, as a former player myself, and even a lot of our coaches, we want to do things the right way. I mean, yes, I know there's a transfer portal now, but we want these guys to get the decision right. And, we tell guys all the time, if you really want to be a difference maker, we think we have a great plan for that. And we've had that everywhere I've been, from Rondell Moore, David Bell, George Karlaftis. All those guys could have went anywhere in the country, and they chose to come play for us. And their first year, they were All-American or they were breaking records and they were really making a difference. So we think we have a good plan for it. And obviously the team consists of a lot of different players and personalities, but difference makers are important. And if you want to come to the University of Louisville, make a difference, get on the field early, make a statement, put your name out there right away. I think we got a great plan to do that. And so those guys are excited. I think we have some really good players that are great leaders, that have won championships. Their football teams were very good. They've competed at a high level in high school. So I think they'll be ready to go.
Two guys who are really supremely talented on defense that I think you're going to get a lot out of: Adonijah Green, Stanquan Clark. Keeping those guys locked in, how important was that? And getting those guys on campus to start the process here?
Well, without question, we feel very good about our defensive list of prospects that committed to the University of Louisville. Definitely Stanquan is a tremendous middle linebacker. I mean, really athletic. He can run the field. He can hit. He can tackle. He's smart. He loves football. He'll be a difference maker for us year one, without a question. So excited to be able to land him. AJ has been committed to the University of Louisville for a long time. He's long. He's athletic. He played at a high level of football. Getting to state championship games and competing against the very best in the state of Georgia. Great personality. So we got a chance to know him and his family. So those two can really do a great job. AJ's got to continue to fill out and gain weight, but boy, he's got great length and athleticism. So we're excited about it.
There are different philosophies when it comes to the portal. It's a part of the reality of recruiting now. What's yours? Is it load up on it? Is it find pieces that you need? What is it for you?
Well, I think, the portal is what it is. We have to adjust to it, and these young men can transfer whenever they want. So it's going to continue to be active, from here until, you don't know when.
Yeah.
But every year we're going to evaluate our roster and make sure that we make additions that we think can help our football team win. And, with the portal now, it's 365 days a year pretty much where guys are either in it or just got in it, or they can stay in it, because some guys go in it and they get stuck in there. So it's going to be a constant evaluation. You got to make sure you piece this thing together where you have enough veterans on your team that have played football. And sometimes you can watch these young men either play at a good program or maybe a smaller division of a program. Still, they can have success if they've competed and done a good job on the field. So we want to be active and make sure that, anybody that we think can help our football team win, we want to add.
Your best quote ever is from the XFL, Jeff. And I just want to say it to you just to ask you about philosophy. And you said, do I or do I not currently have a pulse? Yes, I do. Let's play football. That's awesome. That worked at your previous stop, that tough Midwest personality. Is that what you're bringing to Louisville? Is that what Louisville fans should expect?
Well, I think I know a great deal about this program and the history, and we want to be about substance. We want to be about competing really hard. And, you work real hard, you train, you game plan, you do all those things. But in the end, we try to simplify this game for our guys. And I just think that it comes down to this, that you've got to find a way to play harder than the other team. I mean, people can visually watch that. And when they watch on TV or in the stadium, which team is playing harder? So we have to find a way to win that battle. Then you have to find a way to play tougher than the other team, which means, things aren't going to go your way. You're going to be down. You're going to be losing. Are you going to hang in there? You're still going to play hard. So that means playing hard even when things aren't going well, and finding a way to just constantly keep that edge. And then you got to play smarter, which means you can't get a lot of penalties. You got to know the assignment. You got to know what you're doing when you're on both sides of the ball, and you got to be able to communicate. If you can win those three battles every game you play, you can beat anybody in college football. So those are the things we work at. It's important that, it's a visual where people can see, is this team smart, tough, and do they play hard? So those are the things I think we still got to concentrate on, and making sure that, yes, we evolve and we try to find ways to be creative and make big plays, but it comes down to the base backbones of the game of football. We want to try to be good at it.
Great. That is new Louisville coach Jeff Brohm. Jeff, thanks so much for joining us today.
Okay. Thank you, Adam. Have a good day.
All right. This is Adam Gorney with the Rival Signing Day Show, continuing on here with Rutgers head coach Greg Schiano. Greg, another signing day in the books. You hit the Northeast hard again, which is going to be the focus. Went into Canada actually for a guy, and stayed local too. New Jersey is going to be the pipeline. Jazair Peterson, talk about getting him in the class, locking him up, and what he can bring to this group for you.
Well, Petey's a real fine player, and he's going to play on the defensive side for us. I've heard some people say that he was an offensive lineman. He's going to be a defensive lineman, and we're really excited about him. He's big, he's athletic, and he loves football and wants to be part of what we're building here.
Massachusetts was big. The Northeast, is that going to be the footprint and then building out from there? Or what's kind of your philosophy on how the classes need to be built for you?
Well, everything always starts in our backyard. So that's New Jersey and New York, especially downstate New York. When you're talking about the city, Long Island, Westchester County, we've got players from there every year. We've had the last 2 years in a row, we've had the number one player in the state of New York. So we feel like that's all our area. And then we'll go wherever we feel we can recruit players that help and fit what we need. Florida's always been big for Rutgers. So we spend a lot of time. We have a lot of connections down there, but we'll literally go anywhere if it means it helps our build our roster and help. It's a good fit for our program.
Yeah, I was just going to say Florida's another, aggressively going after some guys down there. Talk about the Canadian, Djibril Abdul-Rahman. How did you find him? How did that all kind of come together? And what kind of player could he be for you on the defense?
Well, we think he's a real explosive defensive lineman. I think loves the game, a lot of fun being around, great personality. We actually first saw him at a camp, one of those camps when you go to those camps and try to identify guys. And then we followed him his senior year, and boy, he really played well. And, I think that's one of the things, continuing to recruit 23s in the 23 the 22 season, because guys develop at all different rates. And right now recruiting has become so far in advance that I think if you just keep following guys, you have an opportunity to get some really good players.
A spark on offense. How much were you looking for that in your receivers, whether going to New York or Massachusetts, the tight end commit, running back, and especially at quarterback with Ajani Shepherd?
Yeah, I really like, the offensive guys we've added to the roster all bring something to the table, but the common denominator is they're all very athletic, speed, and most of all, they love the game and really want to be a part of what we're building here. Like, to me, that was the number one thing. We need guys that want to be part of this build, that want to be part of what we're building, and that their culture is a fit with our culture. And I feel really good about that.
Did it just so happen that the quarterback was also a runner? I think he ran for about 1,300 yards this year. Or were you kind of feeling like you needed some more of that dual threat in the backfield there?
Well, I think, with the quarterbacks we have dual threat quarterbacks. So he fits right in with what we do. I think in this modern day college football, you'd be hard pressed to find a team that in some way doesn't use the quarterback as a runner. So that's really what college football is these days. And I think that we're going to continue down that path as well. So he's a perfect fit.
I've asked a lot of guys this today about the portal and your philosophy on it, and everybody seems to have a different idea or a way to use it. How can you use it to maximize what you want to do? Is it first high school and then go portal for needs, or how are you kind of looking at that?
Well, I think in our situation, we're a developmental program, so we're going to build guys, we're going to grow them up, but there's going to be holes in your roster that, in years previous, there was no way to adjust that other than kind of speed someone up who might not be ready. Well, here you can. Now you have to be careful that you don't do that at the risk of slowing down some guys' development. So we've been very, very specialized in who we go after in the portal. And then the other thing is, when you go get a portal player, you're bringing them into play. You're not bringing them in to develop them. They usually don't have much eligibility remaining. So they need to be a cultural fit, because if they're going to come in and play and they're going to make plays, if they're not a cultural fit, they're going to lead people in the wrong direction. And that's been we've had really good success in making sure that the portal guys that we do go after are a cultural fit.
Yeah. We have a nice setup here out in LA, but what you guys did with Scarlet Zone today was pretty cool. Bringing in the NFL Red Zone guy. And how did that kind of all come together? Did someone come to you and say, let's try this? And it obviously kind of sparked some social media interest.
Well, yeah, we have a really top flight creative team here. And they did bring it to me, and they said, Coach, would you be good with this? And I said, yeah, absolutely. I'm not at the age where I am all into the social media and all the stuff, but these guys are excellent, and I trust them, and they made a good decision. I was happy.
Yeah, definitely. It definitely sparked some interest, that's for sure. That is Rutgers coach Greg Schiano. Greg, thanks so much for joining us.
Okay, thank you.
All right, see you again. This is Adam Gorney with the Rival Signing Day show with our final guest of the day. We waited best for last year, new coach at Stanford, Troy Taylor. And Troy, let's talk about just getting the job and what the first few weeks have been like. Has it just been just craziness?
It's been pretty busy, but it's been fun. Just being able to, one of the first things I did was meet with every player, and that took quite a few days, but that gave me a lot of energy. Just how extraordinary our student athletes are and how excited they are, and it's been busy, but it's been really fun.
You obviously have a big reputation as an offensive guy. I looked this up last night that you averaged 43 points a game, just under 43 points a game this year at Sacramento State. Stanford hadn't averaged that many points in the last 2 seasons combined. What can you bring in offensively? Just a different mindset, or just something to refresh the that side of the ball.
Well, we're gonna have fun on offense. We're gonna be in an attack mode and not play to lose. Not play based on fear, but just loving what we're doing. And we're pretty balanced. We'll throw it and run it, and I think it's fun for everybody. We'll do some tempo. That'll be definitely a part of what we do. Not all the time, but some of it. Hopefully, I think our guys are excited about it, and it should be a great challenge, but it should be a lot of fun.
It feels like a million years ago, but I remember when you were at Folsom, I had come up to a game, I think, to see Jake Browning, and I don't think – I mean, Corona Centennial runs pretty fast offense. You ran just as fast, if not faster. Is that the idea, or is it sort of mixing, putting your talent to what you can do on that side of the field?
Yeah, I mean, at Folsom, we went fast a lot. I've kind of, now it's more, I think of it more like, like a baseball pitcher. If you got a great fastball, that can be hard to hit, but you become really dangerous when you throw a changeup and then a breaking ball. So we will mix up our tempos. I think that's what makes one of the things that makes us challenging is we can go in and out of different tempos, and we'll even huddle sometimes. So there's still a lot of the same concepts that we ran at Folsom High School. That's really where the offense developed, and it's morphed throughout the years. But we'll definitely going fast will definitely be a part of what we do.
Huddle I reject, but anything else I'll be in full support of. But let's talk about the guys that you got on offense, because there's definitely some skill coming in. Tiger Bachmeier, not a guy that's going to blow you away physically, but I mean, just catches everything thrown his way. For years he's done that, and comes from a football family and those kinds of things. Jackson Harris, another guy, a Berkeley kid, who's very successful that way. Cedric Irvin at running back, and then Miles Jackson at quarterback, reclassified to 23. Sometimes those guys need a little bit more seasoning, but he seems ready to kind of come in and at least compete for that. Can you just talk about what you got on that side of the ball?
Yeah, well, starting with Miles, you're right. It does take some time period for anybody really to adjust when you move up a level. But he's a very accurate player. He's been very productive, which I like out of the quarterbacks, just because they've done it. They went through progressions and had to seen it. Cedric Irvin, an outstanding guy that will need to come in and play right away. Obviously, his father was a great running back at Michigan State. And then you talked about Tiger Bachmeier, recruited his brother as a quarterback a few years back. I think he was tops in the state in receiving yards. He's got incredible ball skills. He's a great route runner, great body control. He was a pole vaulter, so we know those pole vaulters are a little wild and crazy. They're not afraid to do really anything. So he'll catch the ball across the middle. And the other receivers are great too. Amari Borden, and talked about CC and Jackson Harris from Berkeley, who's really a guy that just started playing football in the COVID season. He was a soccer player, and he's just increased his skill level and comfortability a lot throughout the year. Had 73 receptions and almost 1,500 yards and 24 receiving touchdowns for a guy that really just started playing football. So we feel great about all the skill guys, and we got a great class of offensive linemen as well that are really large human beings and physical and smart guys and very skilled. So, and then we got some great defensive players on the other side of the ball and some specialists. So we feel like from top to bottom, it's a really good class. And the great thing about it, Adam, is, these guys committed before I was the head coach, when there was no head coach, and stayed with us now that I am the head coach. So, and that, I think that's a tribute to the reputation that Stanford has as a university and in a football program. And I'm really excited to continue to recruit in the coming years and here at Stanford.
I wanted to ask you about the offensive linemen and your philosophy on them. When you go fast, but you still want to run the ball, do you want those high school guys that are 300 plus pounds, or do you want maybe more nimble guys that can move down the field and keep pace with what you want to do? Because for years, and you know, it's at Stanford, it was get the biggest, strongest guys and run it at them and overpower them that way. Is there a difference in philosophy, or are we going to still kind of see those big Stanford offensive linemen?
Yeah, I mean, we like big guys that are really nimble. That's what everybody wants, right? But this class, those guys are all of those things, and we got 5 that we think can really play. People kind of associate this offense with throwing the ball, but we were one of the top rushing offenses in the country this year, and I think 7th maybe in the country and 2nd in our conference in the Big Sky. And if you're going to win championships, you've got to be able to run the football. So. That'll be a priority for us to be able to run the ball, and that all starts with the offensive line.
Troy, you addressed this a little bit, but expand a little bit on it. You get to Stanford, and it's not a thing where, well, I'm going to flip, I'm leaving here, because Stanford offers so much more than just the football team, and it's a reason why a lot of these kids go there. How beneficial is that to have it for this recruiting class, but also in the future as well?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's an unbelievable asset for us when you're talking about a combination of one of the most prestigious universities in the world, and then you combine that with what we're going to put on the field, which is incredible football program and product, and guys that enjoy playing it. And I don't know that anybody else can offer that. And I know they can offer other things, but I feel like we're very uniquely positioned to attract the best student athletes in the country that really want a great degree and want to play great football. We may have to go to all parts of the country to make it happen, but we're willing to do that. But I also feel that our name and our reputation and our brand has that kind of pull power.
Absolutely. Again, that is new Stanford coach Troy Taylor. Troy, thanks so much for joining us today.
Great. Thanks for having me, Adam.
Okay.